Hi everyone, welcome to the third episode of our Frontend interview series, and in this video we are going to cover a very important topic which is hoisting, and this is frequently asked in interviews, and we are going to cover multiple tricky examples of hoisting. So don't skip the video and watch every example so that you can answer any question that is given to you. Alright guys, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to declare a variable age and assign it 23, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to log this age. Now, as many of you will already know what will be the output of this, obviously it is going to print 23, right? There is nothing unexpected about it. So let me go ahead and run this, and it printed 23 as expected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this line. That is, there is no variable which was declared before and we are trying to log something that does not exist. Now what should be the output of this? This also, as many of you might guess, it is a reference error. That is, age is not defined. It was never there in the file. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this line right after this console log statement, and let me uncomment this. Now can you guess what will be the output? Let's go ahead and check. Wait, what is happening? It is printing undefined. What happened here? When we came to line number 2, console log age was not even there, right? It was never there. It is there after this console log statement. So how is it printing undefined? Shouldn't it be saying that reference error age is not defined because it is not defined before this line? Well, the reason why you're getting undefined is because of hoisting. So now let's understand what is this hoisting and why this particular thing is happening. And remember guys, we talked about creation phase and execution phase of an execution context in the previous video. Guys, the previous video is very important to understand this and any other advanced topics, so please don't skip that video. So alright, what we are going to do is I'm going to copy this, okay? And let us go to our favorite JavaScript Visualizer, which is going to help us understand what is happening behind the scene. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm click on step. Right now you are in creation phase, right? I have not yet started executing the code, but you can see age is already there. That means even before running your JavaScript code, your JavaScript engine knows that there is a variable called age which is there somewhere in the file globally. This is global execution context, right? So that means your JavaScript file knows that there is a variable called age. So what it's going to do, it's going to check your entire file, it's going to scan the entire file in the creation phase, and it is going to take all the variables which are there globally, and then it is going to assign space for them. Okay, so in creation phase, what happened? Your age variable got some space in the memory, and then the JavaScript engine simply put undefined there. The value will be actually given in the execution phase. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to keep clicking on step here. Now you can see you're in execution phase. That means we have started executing the code, and as you can see here, age is assigned 23 when it is in the execution phase. In the creation phase, only memory was allocated, and in the execution phase, the value is also put in the memory, that the value that age holds is actually 23. Now this mechanism of giving memory to variables in the creation phase is nothing but hoisting. That is all hoisting is. That means when we are trying to print age, what will happen? It will go and check, is the variable age there in the memory? It will say yes, it's there. And what is the value? It is undefined because right now we have not executed the second line of code which is actually giving the value 23 to it, right? So that's why if I actually remove the second line, that means age is not even there in the memory. That's why it will give us a reference error that age is never there. I checked the entire memory heap and I could not find this variable age. Now let's move on to the second example. Here what I'm going to do, I'm going to declare this var age 2 times, okay? 2 times var age equal to 23 and then again var age is equal to 23. I'm declaring it twice. Now what will happen? Will it be hoisted once or will it be hoisted twice? Now this is a tricky question. Now guys, what will happen is in the creation phase, let me actually click on step. You can see age is there only once. Why is that happening? So guys, this is what happens. Your JavaScript engine will see that there is a variable called age. That means it will be assigned memory and then the value will be undefined, okay? When it comes to the second line, still we are in the creation phase. When it comes to the second line, it will again see age. Now it doesn't care about the value. Even if I put the value as 24, it will be hoisted only once. Because when it comes to the second line, it is going to see age again. So what will it say? There is already a variable called age which is given memory. So that means I don't need to care about it the second time, because even if the value is different, I told you that it doesn't care about the value in the creation phase. Value is given in the execution phase. So in the creation phase, undefined is given. So it will say, okay, already there is age which is given undefined. So I don't need to hoist this again. Therefore, this second line is actually not hoisted. It is hoisted only once when the variable names are same. And guys, since the value is not given in the creation phase, this is known as partially hoisted. That means variables are partially hoisted because they are given memory but they are not assigned any value. But let's see what happens in case of a function, okay? Now let's see how functions are hoisted. So here I'm going to declare a function say hello, right? And this one is simply just going to log hello to the console. Okay, now let's run this. Before that, let's also invoke this function. So say hello is invoked here. What will be the output of this? There is nothing tricky about this, right? It is just going to console log hello. So let me go ahead and run this, and it is saying hello. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this statement up. Okay, so let me delete it from here and move it on top. Now I'm calling say hello before actually declaring this function. So now let's see what is going to happen. Let me run this, and again it is saying hello. How is that possible? It should be saying undefined, right? Because of hoisting, that's what we learned. If it is declared after using that value, it should be undefined. So now how come this function is giving us the output correctly? Let's go to our JavaScript visualizer to see what is happening behind the scenes. So now I'm going to click on step and see what happens. So as you can see here, what is happening? Say hello value is not undefined, right? It is hoisted. It is in creation phase. In creation phase, you are able to see that say hello already exists before we are executing our code. But what is the value? It is not undefined. It is actually the function itself, right? What does that mean? That means functions are also hoisted. They are also assigned memory. That means say hello is there in the memory, but the value of it is not undefined. It is the function itself. That means functions are completely hoisted. I told that variables are partially hoisted because memory is assigned for variables but value is not given. But in functions, they are assigned memory and value is also given. That means actual function exists in the memory and not undefined even before executing the code. So in the creation phase itself, say hello will hold the value of the actual function, and that's why if you call the function before declaring it or before defining it, what is it going to give you? It is going to give you the right output. Now let's quickly check one tricky question. What I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this, okay, and I'm going to declare one more function, and this one is going to say hi. What will be the output of this? It will be hi, right? It will not be hello because it is getting overwritten. But how many times will say hello be hoisted? Will it be hoisted once or twice? Let's check. So guys, as you can see, it is still being hoisted once only. But what happens when your JavaScript engine sees this file from top to bottom? It will first say hello and it will allocate memory along with this particular definition, right? Console log hello. Then it will see say hello again and it will say it is already there in the memory. But since it cares about the value also when it comes to function, it will replace console log hello with console log hi. That means console log hello is actually not even there in the memory, just in the creation phase, right? We don't need to move to execution phase. In the creation phase itself, this is being removed and it is being replaced with console log hi. Now let's actually move on to our next example. Let's see what happens with function expressions. Now what is a function expression? I'm going to say where say hello is equal to, that means I'm assigning a variable a function, okay? So here I'm going to say function and then console log hello. So this is a function expression, okay? You're assigning your function to a variable and this is nothing but a function expression. Now if I'm going to call say hello here, what will be the output of this? It will be hello because we are calling say hello after it is being declared, right? It is something that we know for sure. So let me run this and it will obviously say hello. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this statement and move it on top, okay? So let me move it on top. Well, it is giving us type error that say hello is not a function. How is that possible? Didn't we just discuss that if we are talking about function, it is completely hoisted and we should be able to get the value anywhere in the file? So guys, here is the trick. When your JavaScript engine is parsing your file, what happens? When it sees this where say hello, it will think that it is a variable. As soon as it sees this where keyword and say hello, it will think that okay, I don't need to see the value because we know that variables are partially hoisted. That means say hello is given memory, it is there in the memory, and what will be its value? It will be undefined, right? Because that's how variables are hoisted, they are partially hoisted. JavaScript engine doesn't know that later it is actually a function because it didn't even see the value when it saw that it is a variable. Now what happens? We are calling say hello with these parentheses, but according to JavaScript engine as of now, what is it? Say hello is not a function, it is a variable. So how can we use this parentheses with a variable? Right? So that's why it is giving us an error that say hello is not a function. Now let me actually copy this code, okay? And let's also see this in our JavaScript visualizer. So I'm going to click on step. As you can see in the creation phase, what is happening? Say hello value is actually undefined. Why? Because it is a variable, right? And variables are partially hoisted. It was given memory and then undefined was given to it, right? Value was not even seen by the JavaScript engine. That's why In the execution phase, what happened when it saw say hello, it will think why are we adding parentheses to a variable? That's why it is giving us an error. Alright guys, now let's move on to an actual tricky question which is asked in interviews. So here I have declared a variable, okay, where name is equal to Simran, and then I have defined a function change name, and inside of change name again I'm redeclaring this where name is equal to John, okay. So what should be the output of this? Pause the video and try to guess the output of this from whatever we have learned so far, and I'm actually going to run this and check what will be the output. Okay, so it's saying name is undefined. That means line number 4 is saying undefined and line number 6 is saying John. Some of you might have guessed that on line number 4 it will print name as Simran, but it is actually printing undefined. Why is that? To understand that, I'm going to copy this and take it to our JavaScript visualizer. Okay, I'm going to paste this here, and now let's check. As you can see in the global execution context, right, in the creation phase, your name was hoisted, just like we would expect. When it sees the first line, it will be hoisted, right? In the creation phase, it is hoisted and value is undefined. In the execution phase, this name will become Simran, right? And you can see change name is also hoisted and it is given the real value because it is a function, right? Now I will click on step and see what happens. So you can see in the execution phase, name became Simran and the function is not yet invoked, okay? When we invoke the function, another execution context will be created. So like you can see here, another execution context got created for change name, right? And this time what happened? It will see that in the execution context of change name, it is like its own world, right? Inside this world, there is a variable called name. So again, it will, in the creation phase, again it is going to hoist this. The name will become undefined again, right? That means on line number 4, it is printing undefined because on line number 5, name is actually hoisted in the execution context of change name. It has its own name in its own world. And that's the reason why it is not printing Simran and it is actually printing undefined. It is because of hoisting within the change name function, right? Okay, now let's move on to our final example of using let and const keyword, which was introduced in ES6, and it is going to make our life much easier, okay? So here I'm doing console log name, and this time I have declared this name with the keyword let. Now let me run this and let's see what it prints. It is giving an error, uncaught reference error, cannot access name before initialization. What does this statement actually mean? Does it mean that if you declare your variable with let or const, it is not going to get hoisted? Well, here is the thing. Whether you declare your variable with var, let or const, it is definitely going to get hoisted. But in case of let and const, it is not going to get initialized any value. When we were doing var, what happened? It was getting initialized with undefined. That's why it was printing undefined. But in case of let and const, it is not going to get initialized at all until it comes to the second line, okay? So it will not get initialized with undefined or any other value. If you use let or const, it will get hoisted, but it will not get initialized. And that's why the error here says cannot access name before initialization. And that's why it is recommended to use let or const, because you can actually expect the behavior of your program. I have not even declared this variable name, so I should not be able to access it on line number 1, okay? That's why it is a good practice to use let and const. There are other advantages also which we will be covering in the next few videos. And finally, let's also see this in the JavaScript visualizer. So I'm going to click on step. As you can see in the creation phase, you do not see this name keyword at all here, right? This name variable is not even seen because it was not initialized any value. And guys, this is also called temporal dead zone. What is temporal dead zone? It is the time span in which your variable is actually created, but it is not initialized any value, and therefore until it is initialized any value, you can't access it. That's why if I console log name, I will not be able to access it because of temporal dead zone, or because it is hoisted but it is not initialized anything. Until and unless a variable is initialized something, it cannot be accessed. And if you change this let keyword to const, you will observe the exact same behavior. So that's it in this video, guys. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash the like button. In the next video, we are going to cover scope chain and also some tricky interview questions just like we discussed right now. So make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you get notified on the next video.